So for those of you who may like case studies as a way to learn about astrology, this chart is filled with amazing symbolism. Gabriel Matzneff is a notorious French writer, famous for his rather controversial positions on sexuality, namely pedophilia, which he has advocated for over the years. And begin by noticing Taurus rising with Venus, the ruler, in the house of romance and love affairs. So you can already expect things to tilt that way immediately from the ruler of the ascendant being in that sign and house. And then we see Mercury itself in Virgo in that house as well, which doubles down on the theme. Then we notice that the chart tilts or hinges on this T-square, Saturn, Neptune, Jupiter, with again Neptune, a planet of illusions and easily drifting into this kind of thing, in the same house as well. Square Jupiter, which is in the 8th, a house of sex, literally it rules sex. And then we see the writing connection, 3rd sign, Cancer. We see the moon ruling that, moon in Gemini, a sign of writing. Of course, we notice that the moon is void, which gives him a very open-ended type of energy. And it's mentioned in the article that, though quite well known, he didn't necessarily ever do so well with his finances, which can happen with a void moon, especially if you put it in an air sign. Then we see Pluto in late Cancer in what is known as a Gaclin position, meaning the MC-IC axis had just touched the Pluto prior to birth, thereby imprinting the personality with a whole lot of Pluto, basically. And if you want to find sexual perversions, lots of libido, which is emphasized by Pluto-Mars, by the way. Pluto-Mars, even though they're out of sign, it's a geometric conjunction. So then all types of dirty underground sex is the kind of thing Pluto is going to connect to. Then we see Uranus rising, and this gives him the rebel type of personality, to go his own way and not be afraid to buck common values. He's going to basically promote his own values and not care what people think. And we see it in square to the Mars-Sun planets in Leo around the midpoint, further emphasizing this particular approach to things. And then it is interesting to notice that you can add to all this the planetoid Eris, which I have noticed shows up a lot in matters relating to conflicts with women, in the sense that women as the warrior archetype, women that are ready to do combat and basically come after you. So you have Eris in square to the moon. It's a geometric square, but it's close enough by degrees that it'll certainly count. And I mention this because when we look at his transits, as they're happening now, you notice Uranus is in early Taurus, therefore squaring the Mars. That is unlikely to be good. It's going to cause stress for sure. Then we see, and this is where the main source of the trouble is, Saturn and Pluto getting close to the midheaven and opposing Pluto. And so this is telling us that, the chickens of karma are coming home to roost, and not in a good way. Even the Jupiter in this area is unlikely to be good. Neptune is probably the most clear in explaining what is happening, because Neptune is triggering the T-square. And if you want to see a good scandal, put Neptune in the middle and you're liable to get it. And I think at this point, even though Eris itself is not by transit connecting to anything, I think that Eris is involved as well, because if you read in the article, it is mentioned that a woman that he was raping, basically, when she was 14 years old, has recently published a book, and it has become one of the main sources of trouble for him at this time. So really rich symbolism that explains the situation on the character side, as well as the transits that are happening in the current period.